Probably do that Friday after pass that to play.
Power midfielder Matt White says he wouldn't be surprised if the club takes a conservative approach on his comeback from a hamstring injury. White says he's ready to take on Essendon, but after 6 weeks on the sidelines, he may find himself playing in the SANFL at the weekend. And in cricket, Aussie all-rounder Mitch Marsh says he's optimistic Chris Rogers will play in the third test after struggling with dizzy spells at Lords.
He's sort of got the all clear from the doctors, and I'm sure our medical staff will be getting up for the next game, and so obviously it's never nice to see people like that. And that doesn't matter what you're doing in life, but it's nice to see him back and healthy now.
Now the FiveAA forecast, mostly sunny today, 17. Tomorrow showers and 15. Showers increasing 16 on Saturday. Sunday showers easing 13. Then a possible shower Monday and Tuesday, temps in the mid-teens. More news as it happens on FiveAA.
$13.95, Adelaide's FiveAA. This is Peter Godfrey.
It's another chilly one, 4 degrees at the moment. A little nippy. Now, just quickly, an email from Leighton, who listens to us online in Tokyo. Leighton with, he heads at the usual, some of the rainfall figures from Tokyo. He says, we're getting to the business end of the month now. And since Japan got its 100th earthquake for the month, on the earthquake list for Japan as well, got its 100th earthquake for the month about 20 minutes ago, Leighton said. Thought I might as well let you know right now. Of those 100 earthquakes in Tokyo and Japan, 37 were 4 or greater magnitude. None were under 2. And on rainfall, not much since the last email to speak of, but in Tokyo alone this month, 221.5 millimetres. Gosh, I don't think we've had that for the last couple of years. Should be getting more today, Leighton says, though with a typhoon pushing some our way, it could get a bit damp. Heat wave conditions up here with the last 7 days, 30 plus as well. And the next week, 30 to 35 range on the forecast. Oh, it's a crazy place you're living in, Leighton. Thank you for your email, mate. Appreciate that. So from Tokyo to Auckland, let's head across the ditch to New Zealand. Selwyn Manning, editor of eveningreport.nz with us. Selwyn, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Peter. I can report that it doesn't look like there's going to be much rainfall over this side of the ditch.
It's all heading to Japan, I think.
It is all heading to Japan, yes, certainly. And wouldn't it be... Well, just listening to the temperatures with all that rain, you can just imagine the sticky humidity that would be going on there.
Yes, it would be. Yeah. Forget about getting wet from the rain. You'd be wet from the sweat. Goodness, dear oh dear. Yes, indeed. And the earthquakes they've had, Leighton often sends through an email, once a month or so with the number of earthquakes they've had there. It's amazing. Isn't it?
It shows you just how active that particular place is.
Yeah.
I know that after the major Christchurch earthquakes that occurred some years ago here now, the earthquakes that went on and on and on, particularly in that first year, were just huge in number as well.
Right.
And most of them, like what Leighton is talking about, quite significant ones.
Yeah, indeed. Let's get on to things happening in your part of the world. Your Minister of Corrections, now, a bit of pressure on him to resign after, some terrible things by the sound of it happening at Mount Eden Prison there in Auckland.
Yeah, Mount Eden Prison has been notorious over the years. It was built in the 19th century, and it still has its stone granite kind of grim kind of persona as you drive past it close to the city, over the motorway, etc., etc. Now, Mount Eden Prison is managed by the multinational private service company Serco, and there's been much controversy that has been surfacing in the last 2 weeks in particular, Peter. Since the weekend, if we just look at that part, there's serious problems been revealed where images and video have been uploaded to social media by inmates, it appears, partying, smoking cannabis, drinking homebrew alcohol, but there's a more sinister element as well, and certainly more serious. Among the revelations, Peter, there are inmates who have organised fight clubs inside the prison, filming themselves on cell phones, etc., competing in bare-knuckled, cage-fighting-style violent bouts.
Oh, good grief.
Apparently this type of thing has been going on there for going back 2 years. And on Wednesday, tragedy really came through. Information was made public where an inmate had died from an illness that after he had been dropped from the balcony inside the prison. His injuries included a punctured lung. Now, information that is around that particular case that's come out over last night is that the inmate, prior to becoming gravely ill, was just shipped out of Mount Eden prison up north to another prison called Nafa prison, and it appeared that he passed away up there. Since that occurred, in the last month in particular, there has been no complaint to the police. The police have not received the information relating to that particular death. There's been no investigation by the police into what could be a homicide inquiry. And the minister, as you said, Peter, is under a lot of pressure here now to resign. Now, the Labour Party has accused the Minister of Corrections and a man called Sam Lotu-Inga of sitting on the information and doing nothing. Labour's Kelvin Davis, he presented evidence yesterday it was a transcript, this evidence in Parliament on Wednesday, showing that Mr Lotu-Inga had been warned a month ago in a parliamentary select committee that prisoners were being dropped from a balcony in Mount Eden prison. Now, the minister had earlier said this week that he'd only heard of this dropping kind of incident this week. And so Labour is saying, look, we received this information a month ago. We formally presented it to the minister a month ago, and he did nothing. There was no inquiry, even though a person had died. There was no inquiry elevated to police area. So this is the background to it. Of what is going on here at the moment. It's obviously become a political issue, but it's obviously also a major problem there at Mount Eden Prison in particular. Yeah,
and indeed, and particularly if the minister, it's bad enough when they, don't do anything because they don't know about it, but if he's been presented with that information and it's just not followed it up, that adds another layer to it, doesn't it? Another layer of concern.
And with this being a privately run prison, there's controversy around that as well. The Labour Party spokesperson Kelvin Davis is honing in on that, but he's not saying that this is occurring because it's a privately run prison, if that makes sense. But what it does seem, if standing back from this and just looking at it, I think it's fair to say that it looks like people like the minister, those in the top of corrections, and obviously the people who are working inside the prison and the prisoners themselves all have a responsibility in this, but it looks like no one is accountable. The minister is kind of not standing up and saying, I'm going to, this will not be occurring under my watch, etc. There's none of that. There's basically, yesterday, the government, the National Party MPs at a select committee blocked an exchange of questions to one of the heads of Serco, the private operator here that's managing the prison, and which got the opposition parties pretty wild about this whole thing and saw it as a way that the National Party, which is in government here, was blocking access and censoring really an outcome. So what we saw in the wake of that was Kelvin Davis, the Labour spokesperson on it. He said in a quote here, it was National who made the decision to outsource our prison system to a private company, and now they're stopping Parliament from asking questions about the mess they have created, end of quote. So you can see, Peter, where there are problems not necessarily being advanced by Labour saying, that privately run prisons are bad, which philosophically or ideologically they seem to be phobic about, but they're saying that the lack of accountability and the political games that are being played around this is unsatisfactory, to say the least. And I suppose, the reasonably minded in New Zealand or anybody, on your side of the ditch listening to this would probably agree that it's just unsatisfactory and that the government needs to actually govern on this particular issue.
Yeah, well, I think most people would be horrified to hear of things like, when smoking cannabis and brewing their own alcohol in jail would be bad enough, but the fight clubs as well, that's unbelievable.
If the shoe was on the other foot, if the Nationals were in opposition and the Labour Party and the others were in government, you can just hear the allegations of it's a holiday camp.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Coming out on this, but of course there is nothing of that. One gets the sense, and listening to the Minister Sam Lotu-Inga on radio this morning, he's refusing to resign. He's saying that that's just crazy. He's determined to get down to the nitty-gritty of this and have it an outcome that's satisfactory to all.
Right.
But one gets a sense, Peter, that the Prime Minister will have to be brought in on this issue, an issue that leaders of parties don't like getting involved with because it's so curly and so dangerous politically.
Yeah.
But it does require, one can see, strong leadership. There have been problems with Mount Eden Prison going back with successive ministers' corrections. It's not just labelled to, or the responsibility doesn't lie just with Sam Lotu-Inga, who happens to be the minister at this time. It seems to be a systemic cultural problem. And for those who have, I just tried to describe Mount Eden Prison in the beginning of this bulletin, Peter, for those who have been through Auckland and they're going down the motorway and they see a prison there looking like some sort of, thing out of Macbeth, well, that's Mount Eden Prison.
Okay. How long? So, when did the outsourcing of the running of it go to Serco? How long's that been in place?
It began by degrees as soon as the Nationals came in to power in 2008. What had happened earlier on is Serco had been running as a trial period the remand wing at that location. But when Nationals came in, Serco managed to secure the contract, if you like, as the Nationals began privatising the running of New Zealand prisons. They've been pushing in recent months huge success stories, as they say, relating to the privately run prisons and the new prison in the greater Auckland area. They have been making a big deal where, the rehabilitation elements are certainly being advanced, and they're saying that the outcomes with a private company can be managed or watched, meaning the tick boxes. If a privately run prison, the operator is not meeting particular criteria, well, then there are consequences. Now, Sam Lotu-Inga, here, the minister on this particular thing, he made reference this morning to consequences, but would not and did not express what those consequences may be. So when you look at that, you kind of wonder whether or not there is an issue here of everyone is responsible, no one is accountable.
Yeah.
And that I think politically is the big deal here, relating to the privately run prisons in the New Zealand context anyway.
Yeah. So whenever you hear that name Serco, from whatever operation it is anywhere, that there's always some sort of controversy that follows.
I guess it's the nature of the game that they are operating in too. It's obviously not like running a grocery store.
No, fair,
but at the same time, when you've got prisoners with access to being able to load up, if it's not the prisoners, well, it must be those who are charged with managing the prison themselves. So you can't get it out other ways, or is it information that's being smuggled out of prison by visitors? So there's all sorts of issues there just relating to that, the home brew, the drugs in the prison, the fight clubs that seem to have been going on for quite some time. And the videos are pretty disturbing, as you'd imagine.
I could imagine,
But then this instance of what they're referring to colloquially as dropping, meaning that there's some sort of initiation element to this as well, Peter, where, new inmates go into the prisons and they're getting dropped. It's not just one incident that's occurred here. Apparently it's systemic. And this particular individual had just arrived into Mount Eden Prison, was dropped, and ended up with a ruptured lung. Then he passed away. It's yet, obviously, for a coroner or a police inquiry to identify whether or not those dots are all connected. But that's the big issue here, that it appears, when you look back at it, that there was a cover-up, in the sense, an official cover-up. And I think that's the most disturbing element here. A person died over a month ago and no police inquiry into
Nothing's followed up. Yeah, some gaps. Yeah, needs certainly following up. So we'll just have a quick break, then we'll come back. Got a nice story, I think, from your part of the world too, about a very famous painting.
Yes.
Find out more about that in a moment. Selwyn Manning's with us from eveningreport.nz. It's 5:20.
Crows superstar Patrick Dangerfield on the 5AA Breakfast Show.
Was yesterday the meeting where you made your decision, or are you still thinking things through?
No, it wasn't the meeting where I've made my decision.
Do you feel a bit torn at the moment between your family and what is also another family, in a way, the club?
That's been the situation all along. That hasn't changed, since the start of the season. It's, one family versus another almost.
Patrick Dangerfield on the 5AA Breakfast Show.
Only on 13.95 Adelaide's 5AA.
If you're suffering from painful muscular cramps or spasms, try new Caruso Super Magnesium Powder. It's Australian made and contains 6 forms of magnesium. Frank Caruso's so passionate about helping your cramps or spasms, he stands behind his super magnesium powder with a money-back guarantee.
It's the way we make it that makes all the difference.
New Caruso's super magnesium powder from leading health stores and pharmacies. Always read the label. Use only as directed. If symptoms persist, see your healthcare professional.
Everyone knows that Steinborner Holden in Gawler is well worth a trip. Offering the best selection, best prices and customer service for over 30 years. They now have even more to offer, with Steinborner Hyundai opening in the Barossa and Clare. To celebrate, they're having a massive opening sale with all new and used demo Hyundai being reduced to clear, including demo Santa Fe diesel from just $39,990. See the full range of Hyundai at steinbornerhyundai.com.au. Steinborner Hyundai. It's well worth a trip. LMPD 265971.
The Glenelg Club just keeps getting better. And it's not just a great place to enjoy a meal or catch up with the school mums while the kids run around Glenelg's biggest backyard. The Glenelg Club is famous for its events too. And with 6 different function rooms, we have a space and the team to make your show unforgettable, whether you're inviting 10 or 300. So come and see what's possible. The Glenelg Club, Gliderol Stadium, Glenelg.
If you want your advertising to really drum up business, see what I did? Make sure you add radio to your marketing mix. Because now we know just how much of a difference radio advertising can make when it's used with your TV or online. Independent research has found that when you add radio advertising to, say, your TV spend, your return on investment can increase by an average of 21%. Add radio to your digital spend and it can increase by an average of 23%. 23% more ROI just by adding radio advertising. You know what that means? A promotion.
Peter Godfrey on 1395, Adelaide's 5AA.
And Selwyn Manning, editor of eveningreport.nz, is with us. Selwyn, this story is a nice one with a nice happy ending. Some concerns that a very famous Gallipoli watercolour could have been lost to New Zealand if it was bought by an overseas purchaser. It went for auction this week, but a good happy ending to this story.
Yeah, it is. The New Zealand Herald reported last night, Peter, that the painting by Horace Moore-Jones, titled Simpson and His Donkey. Now, just about everyone would know Simpson and His Donkey.
Yep, indeed.
And it sold for $492,450.
Yep.
So almost $500,000 New Zealand dollars, including a buyer's premium at the International Arts Centre in Auckland, to be official about it. Now, the auction house director, Frances Davies, the New Zealand Herald reported that she said the painting would remain in New Zealand, although she could not say whether or not it was sold to private or public collection. Apparently the sale was highly confidential, as she is quoted as saying here. Earlier this week, however, the New Zealand First leader, Winston Peters, now New Zealand First, that centrist, fairly nationalistic kind of party without being extreme. Now, he urged that the government purchase the painting and secure it for future generations. The government really didn't make a move on that. Some would say it refused, some would say it ignored it, and others would say it just wasn't interested or something. But anyway, the New Zealand Herald, it reported that the painting, this is something that's quite interesting here, Peter, because the painting, and in a quote here, originally believed to depict ANZAC folk hero John Simpson Kirkpatrick, who used a donkey to carry wounded soldiers during the Gallipoli campaign all those years ago. Now, the Herald says that, in fact, the original photograph featured New Zealand medic Richard Henderson, who took over from Simpson when Simpson was killed at Gallipoli. Apparently, according to the Herald, I mean, this is a bit of controversy here, I think, but according to the Herald, the actual painting called Simpson and His Donkey is actually that Kiwi who took over his role after Simpson was passed away.
Okay, so that strong connection to New Zealand then, that's the concerns that if it was sold to an overseas buyer, it could be lost.
Yeah, I understand there's a statue in Canberra of Simpson and His Donkey.
Oh, okay. I would imagine there would be. I'm not sure.
One of my little nephews who was born and is growing up in Sydney, he told me, and he's about 6 or 7 years of age. So I think he's probably right.
Okay, he would be.
He'd be probably right, I'd say. Things are so clear and, at that age.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
So I'm just making sure people realise where I was coming from with that.
Yeah,
but amazing story, and isn't it good to know, and not just that it's in New Zealand, but it's still in one of our two countries.
Yeah, indeed. So where was it? Was it on public display prior to the auction? Do you know what?
It has been at different times, but
okay.
I think the concern is that there was a trade in this type of thing, just like with the military medals
and
like
things like
Victoria Cross, and that once they've gone, and you never see the light of day. Someone's got them sitting there, a prized possession, but that's about it.
I think I didn't know about this. I mean, the painting, the story of Simpson and the painting I've seen before, but I wasn't aware that, it was based on that photo. And it's interesting to see that photo and that it was based on too, that on a report I've got here in front of me. Very similar photo to the image is not exactly the same as the painting, but that part of it I didn't know.
Yeah, for those who are interested in having a look at the painting, the New Zealand Herald website, so that's nzherald.co.nz. If people go on that and they can put in a search and, put in Simpson and His Donkey painting or something like that, and they'll be able to have a look at it. It's a brilliant piece of work. And,
it is, indeed.
And as Peter says, there are depictions of the photograph as well, the original photograph.
Yeah, indeed. Well, happy note to end our report on this morning. Glad that that's staying in Kiwi hands, that painting.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Very much so.
Thank you, Selwyn. Have a great week, and we'll catch you again next week. And, of course, Brekkie tomorrow after 6:30 too. Thanks, Selwyn.
Peter,
bye-bye.
take care. Bye-bye.
Selwyn Manning, editor of eveningreport.nz.
Well, they say a man's home is his castle, but finding the dream home to call your castle is not always that easy.
Tell him he's dreaming.
Real Estate Radio is here to help. Join me, Leith Forrest, and a host of real estate experts from Toop and Toop as we help you make sense of the market.
Real Estate Radio, brought to you by Toop and Toop. For everything real estate, talk to a Toop. 8362 8888. Thursday nights from 7 on 1395. Adelaide's 5AA.
Hello. Frank Walker from National Tiles. It's official. Extensive customer research has proven beyond doubt that National Tiles' guaranteed everyday low prices are the best in Adelaide. So if you're building or renovating, rush into National Tiles now and save on the guaranteed lowest